So the news articles are not dying down when it comes to the woke Cleopatra that is coming out on Netflix. And you know what? Netflix deserves all of this. They deserve all the backlash that they're getting for allowing this docu-series, if you even want to call it that, to even exist in the first place. If you play a known historical person and it is a docu-series is not meant to be a work of fiction. If you are playing a character in a movie that is based on a historical character, but the movie itself is not a docu-series or documentary and it's just a grand telling of the story, then if somebody race swaps somebody else, is somebody really going to care about that? Yeah, some will, some won't, but you're more likely to have people say, you know what, I just won't watch it. It is what it is. Now, even though people are not going to watch this docuseries, and I know a lot of people are not going to watch it, that's not going to stop people from complaining about it because, again, now you're talking about lying about history. They are literally lying about what's going on in history. Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Archaeology lambasts Netflix's decision to race swap Queen Cleopatra and says it competes with the simplest historical facts. Now, before we get into this article from Bounding Into Comics, guys, of course, please consider giving this video a like because you will help push us out into the YouTube algorithm. It says it seems that it's not just individual historians and fans of objective truth that have taken issue with Netflix's decision to race swap the eponymous ruler for their upcoming Queen Cleopatra docuseries, as Egypt's National Ministry of Tourism and Archaeology recently voiced a stark opposition to the streamer's attempt to rewrite their own history. Now, once again, I've heard it from so many different people. Okay, I've heard it for the Coach MC, who is very knowledgeable. You guys know who Coach is. He's on my Saturday stream every single Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The guy is very intelligent, and I love hearing what he has to say on different topics, right? So I hear what he has to say regarding the situation, and I also hear what other people have to say regarding it. And from my understanding, people like to claim, or at least have an idea, that Egypt has falsified their own history throughout time. That's the argument that a lot of people like to make. And ultimately, if you weren't there, you really don't know if someone was black or white, okay? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. However, we have historical texts. We also have historical paintings or historical showcasings of what the person looked like. And even her face on certain fixtures or coins, you can see based off her structure that the chances of her being black was very, very slim. Now, people will make the argument, well, you weren't there, so you don't know. If that's the case, then why even believe any history for that matter? You might as well believe no history if that's the case. If you're going to say, oh, you weren't there, so who's to say it's not true? All history is going to be falsified then if that's the case, if that's your belief. But simply put, I know that even though you want to, let's say we have a conversation about this, right? Me and you, the viewer, have a conversation about this, even though I'm on your side. I don't think she was black, obviously. But if we have a conversation about it, we would have a conversation in good faith. Jada Pinkett fucking Smith, who's making this movie with Tina Garavi or whatever her name is, they are not making this movie in good faith. And that is the difference between people like us and people like them. They are making this movie because they believe in black superiority. They are trying to showcase black people in places and times where they weren't there. And by black people, I just mean overall your typical idea of an African American, not an Egyptian. And obviously, we realize that Egypt is in Africa, but again, it's in the northernmost section of Africa, on the northeast corner of Africa, and the southeast corner of Asia. So again, we know this stuff, but the chances of them being black as you and I would know a black person to be, or at least what we would expect when they say an African-American type person, that is not what Cleopatra was at all, according to historical documents and the text that we have. So I just wanted to go on that little bit of a rant because, again, we could have the conversation in good faith, but Jada Pinkett Smith is not making this movie in good faith, and that's the problem. The second entry in producer Jada Pinkett Smith's African Queen series, which even the title alone tells you it's not going to be made in good faith. Queen Cleopatra will set out to tell the story of Queen Cleopatra, the world's most famous, powerful, and misunderstood woman, a daring queen whose beauty and romances came to overshadow her real asset, her intellect. Cleopatra's heritage has been subject of much academic debate, which has often been ignored by Hollywood, reads the series' official synopsis. Now our series reassesses this fascinating part of her story. In attempting to validate her taking creative liberty to portray the historical figure as black, Pinkett Smith argued, we don't often get to see or hear stories about black queens, and that was really important for me as well as for my daughter and just for my community community to know those stories because there are tons of them. Now, my problem with that statement, like I said in my last video, is that if you believe that people should know these stories, then why are you not telling the real stories of known true historical black African queens? If you know, why are you not telling any of that stuff? Why are you taking a Egyptian queen who definitely did not look black according to historical texts and documents and trying to race swap her and telling her story? It's because that queen has the clout from the normies. That's why. When you mention Queen Cleopatra, pretty much everybody knows the name. Even if they don't know the full story, they know the name. And that's why, because the name is what sells. It's not the fucking queenship or whatever the case may be that sells. It's the name. So when you say Queen Cleopatra on docuseries on Netflix, that's expected to sell. If you were to name some other African queen that not a lot of people know in terms of the normies, that's not going to sell. So that's the problem. That's why they went for Queen Cleopatra. Cleopatra is a queen who many know about, but not in her truth. Anytime someone says my truth, they're a liar. She added, she's been displayed as overly sexual, excessive, and corrupt, yet she was a strategist and intellect and commanding force of nature who fought to protect her kingdom, and her heritage is highly debated. This season will dive deeper into her story and reassess this fascinating part of her story. Unsurprisingly, giving its blatant disregard of factual evidence, Netflix's announcement of the series resulted in them receiving a wave of criticism from potential audience members, the entirety of which, especially these complaints leveled against by actual Egyptians, have since been condescendingly dismissed by the project's director, Tina Garavi, on the grounds that she cannot believe anyone will want their history treated respectfully rather than patronizingly overwritten in order to censor someone who has only tangentially shared a superficial quality with them. However, it seems the streaming service will no longer be able to simply plug their ears and ignore the objections to their blatant disrespect, as Egypt's own Ministry of the Tourism and Archaeology recently joined the conversation themselves to offer a scathing rebuke of Queen Cleopatra's self-important rhetoric. Honestly, dude, I'm glad to see Egyptians coming out and fighting this shit. Like, this needs to happen more when they race swap known historical people. This needs to happen more. I saw this happen in the Viking show on Netflix as well, when they not only race swapped the character, but they damn sure made sure to gender swap him as well. It was a male known historical figure that was changed to a black female figure, and all because of diversity. Like, I wish people would fight this more, and I'm glad Egypt is coming out and fighting this. So shout out to all my Egyptian viewers. I know I have a few of you according to my analytics. Keep fighting the good fight, man. You guys really should not let Netflix walk all over you like this. In a statement published to their official Facebook page on April 27th, the ministry explained that as per the nation's Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Archaeology, Mustafa Waziri, via Meta's automatic translation tool, the appearance of the heroine in this body is a falsification of Egyptian history and a blatant historical misconception, especially because the film is classified as a documentary and not a drama, a classification which requires the owners of the industry to investigate accuracy and refer to historical and scientific facts in order to ensure that the history and civilizations of peoples is not falsified, they added. And that is true too. That is the double whammy here. It's not, and I said it before, it's because they labeled it a docuseries. This is not a docuseries. You didn't do your research. This is not a documentary at all. You did no research on the subject. You obviously don't care to do the research on the subject because you have a goal in mind. You have an idea in mind. Look at this. This is not a black person. I'm sorry. There are certain distinct features that belong to certain races of people. This is not a known black person at all. You can look at the statues. You can look at her on the coins, like I mentioned earlier in the video. This person is not a black person. No matter how bad you may want that to be true, Jada Pinkett Smith, it's not true. Waziri added that archaeologists and anthropologists should have been referred to when making such kind of a documentary and historical films that will remain a witness on civilizations and history of nations. The government body continued, noting that there are many Queen Cleopatra artifacts and depictions on coins that confirm its true shape and features, which they all show off Queen Cleopatra's Hellenic Greek features in terms of light complexion, drawn nose, and fluffy lips. He also says that the stated rejection that the film witnessed before its screening comes from the heart of defending the history of Queen Cleopatra VII, which is an important and authentic part of ancient Egyptian history, and away from any ethnic racism, certainly on the full respect for African civilizations and our brothers in the African continent that unites us all, wrote the ministry. I honestly think this is one of the best statements I've ever seen. It is such a respectful statement that makes their ground. They stand on their ground and they stand firm, but at the same time, they're being respectful to people they share their homeland with. So obviously, they're all in Africa and they're sharing their homeland and they're trying to be respectful while also saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this because it's disrespectful to us knowing that this person did not look like this. Or maybe you should label your docu-series as a drama so it's not a falsification of history. Nobody would watch this expecting truth if they thought it was a drama and not a docu-series or a documentary. You are purposefully misleading people because you want them to think it's the true history because they know that people are going to grow up watching this movie, and that's what they're hoping they see. They're hoping a bunch of kids have arguments in school about whether or not Cleopatra was black or not because they saw this movie and they think it's real. So that's the problem with this, and I'm glad Egypt is fighting back. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.